William Lyon Mackenzie King was born on December 17, 1874, in Kitchener, Ontario, from his mother Isabel Grace Mackenzie and his father John King. William had two sisters and a brother. He was never married and did not have children, but he was very close with his mother Isabel and his three dogs, Pat 1, Pat 2, and Pat 3. King died on July 22, 1950, in Kingsmere, Quebec City, but was buried in the Mount Pleasant Cemetery in Toronto, Ontario. William Lyon Mackenzie King's grandfather, William Lyon Mackenzie, was the first mayor of Toronto in 1834. King attended the University of Toronto, University of Chicago, as well as Harvard University. King was the longest-serving prime minister in Canadian history, serving for 29 years with the Liberal Party throughout the expansion of the 1920s and the Depression of the 1930s. He served from December 29, 1921 to June 28, 1926, then again from September 25, 1926 to August 7, 1930, and finally from October 23, 1935 to November 15, 1948. Throughout King's time in office, he faced the Canadian people through both the high points and low points in history. King's political career is one of the most extraordinary in Canadian history, even though King never truly gained the affection of the Canadian public and most of his speeches were uninspiring. King won achievements that only were matched by Sir John A. Macdonald and Sir Wilfrid Laurier. In 1921, King and his Liberal Party won the majority of seats, and King became the 10th Prime Minister of Canada and chose to be the Minister of External Affairs as well as being the Prime Minister. In 1923, King sent his Fishery Minister to Washington to get the Halibut Treaty signed independently, which was the first treaty that Canada ever signed independently. Later, in 1923, King attended the Imperial Conference in London, trying to make Canada more independent. Then, later in 1929, King was in office during the U.S. stock crash that would generate chaos for the next 10 years, otherwise known as the Great Depression. During King's time in office, Canada was living through the excitement of the 20s and the Depression of the 30s. William started his time in the office at the amazing time of the 20s. Canada was going through so much at this time, with having most things going so smoothly after World War I and the Spanish flu. In 1930, King appointed Carine Wilson to the senator, who became the first female senator in Canadian history. On August 7, 1930, King lost the position of being Prime Minister of Canada. But in 1935, King and the Liberal Party made a comeback using the slogan, "It's King or Chaos," which led the Liberals back into power in the federal election. 1948 was the last year King was the Prime Minister of Canada. In August of 1948, the Liberal Party chose Louis St. Laurent as its new leader. Then later in the year 1950, King passed away and was buried in Toronto in the Mount Pleasant Cemetery near Yonge and Murden.